Joining me from Bethesda, Maryland is Professor Nathan Hultman. He's the director of the Center for Global Sustainability at the University of Maryland. Professor, what are your realistic expectations from Kerry's talks in Shanghai, given there are many differences between the two sides, but hopefully climate change is one area they can work on?
So that's exactly right. I think we all recognize that the United States and China have a lot of issues that they need to be talking about and on which they disagree. On the other hand, there's also a history of positive collaboration and a potential future of positive collaboration on the topic of climate change that could form a potentially very important bright spot in the relationship between both countries, and frankly, in doing that, also present a bright spot of climate action for the rest of the world as we're looking to raise ambition this year to address the climate crisis.
So let's talk about that positive collaboration. What does each side want to see from the other? What type of commitments do they want to see from each other, at least for now, in this first meeting in Shanghai?
Well, for the U.S. and China to jointly take on this global leadership circle of driving forward not only action in their own countries, but action globally on climate change, I think each country right now is looking to what the other one will do in its domestic context. What will happen in the United States, for example? Joe Biden has now said he will provide a new U.S. climate target or nationally determined contribution over the course of the next week or so. Obviously, the Chinese will be very interested to know how ambitious or how high that target is. That will give them a sense of how serious the United States is taking the domestic challenge of decarbonizing our economy toward a cleaner future. Similarly, on the U.S. side, there will be interest in better understanding how China intends to achieve its already stated goal for 2060 net zero emissions, and what that means for its near-term actions on a number of fronts, including in electricity as well as other kinds of industrial sectors.
Professor, how realistic is China's goal of net zero by 2060? Is that doable?
Well, first of all, the Chinese believe it's doable, and I think that that's the most important
I know, but I want to know what you think.
I actually, I want to note that the analysts in China have also been looking at this in great depth, and also my opinion is that we've done also some work on this in collaboration, sometimes with Chinese partners and sometimes on our own. But it is absolutely feasible for China to decarbonize by 2060. The equally interesting element of this is that it's not only technologically feasible, which is the question that you asked, but it's also interesting to start looking at what such a transition would mean for China's economy. And I think that that's something that's potentially even more interesting in the sense that that drives a transition in China's economy that's in line with what China states are many of its other goals, including moving toward higher value manufacturing, cleaning up the air and reducing air pollution, and a number of other priorities that China itself has stated. So I think that one of the key interesting points here is not only whether they can do it, because I think technologically it's absolutely feasible to do it on that timeline, but also how they can engineer it so that all these other societal goals might also be hit.
Professor, very quickly, we're running out of time. How much of these discussions are going to be also laying the groundwork, the foundation for Joe Biden's virtual summit next week, and also for COP26 later this year in Scotland?
Yeah, I mean, so very quickly stated, the U.S. and China have a lot of work ahead of both of us. And if we do it jointly, we'll be able to deliver both for this summit coming up and for COP26 in November. But we also have to remember, this is also a long-term project that we'll be working on together for years and decades to come.